The first part that we are talking about is about the prehistory that start from the Paleolithic to the Neolithic, which represents the beginning of man in nature. Important events occur such as the construction and the use of the first working instruments. Well, the first instruments works was initially based on stones and sticks, and then the mastery of fire and the use of ceramics took place. It's observed at this time how the different economic activities of men produce occupational pathology, and among the first occupational disease of which there are archaeological antecedents, we have the osteoma, that is a benign tumor of the bone, of the auditory canal that consists of a kind of bone growth that occludes the canal hearing and can cause mechanical deafness.
During the epochs, the Mediterranean civilizations like Egypt, Mesopotamia, Greece, and Rome, they took the first steps in the development of activities inherent to health. For example, in Egypt, protective measures were given by Pharaoh, what were implemented through workshops. Mesopotamia created the legal code of Hammurabi. Here were raised the duties and rights of the community. In Greece, they divide the work into manual and intellectual. Here the different professions arise. Here arise the different professions such as the doctor or the painter. It was understood that physical activity counteracted the bad postures that were performed.
Okay, Italy 645. The Rotary Edicts are published the first legislative regulations designed to protect construction workers from workplace accidents. In 1417, the Ordinance of France are included, which ensure the safety of the working class. In the year 1473, the Dr. Ellenbogen indicates that the vapors of some metal can be dangerous, described to the symptoms of industrial poisonings with lead and mercury suggested preventive measures. In 1473, Ulrich Ellenbogen created a pamphlet that points out some occupational disease. First printed document dealing with safety and one of the first texts on occupational health. In 1541, legislation was born for the contribution to the organization in the work environment. Okay, in 1556, George Agricola first evidence that the aspiration of some particles produces asthma and ulceration in the lungs. He also addressed issues such as eyes and joint disease related to meaning in his title, De Re Metallica, and in his other work, Animatibus Subterraneis, he refers to ventilation deficiency as one of the main causes of occupational disease. In 1560, Paracelsus, in the work entitled Consumption and Other Diseases of Miners, he describes various pneumoconiasis, which are lung disease caused by inhalation of dust. Okay, Stockhausen, Hoffman, and Panza in 1656, 1695, and 1614 greetings and words related to disease of metalworking and workers were development. In 1665, Walter Pope published philosophical transactions where it refers to the miner's illness caused by mercury poisoning.
Continuing with the Middle Age, in Italy appears the classic piece of Romanasi, which name is the Morbus Artificum Diatriba, which studies start at 1670. In that piece, he described of 100 of professions and their laboral risk, and he talked about of the security of employees. In 1754, Giovanni Scopoli becomes the first doctor of mines in Italy. Then, in 1775, Percival Potts describes the chimney sweet cancer for first time. 1 year later, in 1776, James Watt invented the steam machine. That invent changed totally the industry and give way to industrial revolution. And this fact did that the occupational health will take more importance. 2 years later, in Spain, Carlos III gave the Edict of Protection Against Accidents, the law that protects the employees. In 1789-84, an epidemic fever of the cotton factories near to Manchester incited to develop the first action in favor of security of employees. In 1779, in Italy spoke about the pregnant, and it was said that the women shouldn't work the last trimester of the pregnant. To end with the Middle Age, in 1802, the English Parliament gave the regulation of work in factories that limits the workday and leave a minimum level of hygiene, health, and education for the employees.
I am talking about modern age. In 1716 to 1840, Industrial Revolution comes with industrial safety and hygiene at work. With the Industrial Revolution appeared the phenomenon of machinism, and this increased the work accidents. For this reason, forcing them to seek immediately solutions. In 1911 appeared a workers' compensation law. In 1913, the Congress for Industrial Safety emerged. In 1919, creation of the International Labour Organization, and this focused on the safety and health of workers. To conclude, in the actually, to the advance of technology transfer the occupational risks to good boom from chronic disease who manifested in long time. For this reason, every company in any part of the world must take care of safety of its workers.
Well, I talk about of the national history of occupational health. To get started, in 1500 and 1700 arose the Burgos Law, with the purpose of avoid the violence to natives who worked for parcels and reduce the number of people injured for their works. In 1763, botanical expedition of José Celestino Mutis, in which he studied the flora of the country that allowed the use of medicinal plants to cure animal bites during the work in the region. In 1819, the first antecedent of social security in Colombia. Some years later, in 1914, Rafael Uribe Uribe took a vote of the wellness of employee, work accidents, and farm works. He is considered the father of occupational health in Colombia. Then, in 1915, the government emits Law 57 about the rights of the work. This is the first definition of the work accident in Colombia. In 1917, Rafael Uribe Uribe is murdered. However, is taking into account his approach to reduce rise in textile industry, breweries, and mines. In 1929, the first project that implements social insurance. In 1934, is created the Law 10 of 1934, where is established the professional injury, layoff, holidays, and labor high.
In 1935, labor legislation was established. In 1938, protection was given to pregnant women. In 1945, Law 19, in which social insurance was created. In 1946, Social Security, Common Illness and Maternity. And in 1949, General Illness and Maternity Insurance. In 1950, Table of Professional Disease. In 1951, a Labor Code, work day, rest, benefits, illness, hygienic, and safety. In 1954, Occupational Health Plan to train Colombian professionals. And in 1961, Occupational Health Division was formed.
In 1962, start occupational and professional illness. In 1964, create a decree 3170, and it's talking about that the Colombian Institute of Social Security begins coverage in professional risk. In 1979, create a law that is number 9, and it was the first real approach of the government to workers' health protection. In 1983, create a resolution 8321 that have rules on the protection and preservation of hearing, health, and well-being of people, and create a decree 586 that talking about establishments of occupational health committees. In 1986, create a resolution 2013 that functioning of the medicine, hygiene, and industrial safety committees in the workplace. In 1989, create a decree 2177 that have vocational rehabilitation and employment of disabled people. In 1990, create the resolution 1792 that is presumable limit values for exposure to occupational noise. And in 1991, the political constitution of Colombia is promulgated, where work is established as a right. People have the right to have a decent and fair job. The right to social security is guaranteed.
In 1996, the Decree 1530, the Law 100 was partially regulated, and the Resolution 2318 is based in occupational health license. In 1997 appeared the Law 361 and is based in mechanisms of social integration of people with limitation are established. In 1998, the Law 436 and that's approved the use of asbestos in safe conditions. And in 21, the affiliations to serve province begins. In 1992, the occupational health activities are regulated. In 1993, appeared the Law 100 and the Comprehensive Social Security System. In 1994, Decree Law 1295, General System of Professional Risks, and these have some decrees. First, Decree 1281, and this regule high risk activities. Then 1772 decree, affiliation and quotes. Decree 1832, table of occupational disease. And Decree 2634, single compensation table. In 1995, the Resolution 4059, the unique work accident report format is adopted.
2002 Law 776 Organization, Administration and Benefit of the SGRP or General System of Professional Risk. 2005 Resolution 0156 format for reports of work accidents and lessons. And 2006 Law 1010 prevent, correct and punish workplace harassment. 2008 and 8 Resolution 1563 National Committee and Occupation Health. 209 Decree 2566 Table of Occupational Disease. 2012 Resolution 1409 Safety Regulation Against Falls from Work at Height. 2020 Decree 676 of 2020 included has a direct occupational disease. SARS-CoV-2 includes the obligations to supply contractors the personal protection element necessary to carry out the contracted activity and other provisions and issued Ministry of Labor.